this, but I totally disagree when it comes to hormone balancing. That's the topic today. And you guys probably have seen this and thought it's all the rage too. So we will get into it. We are on challenge countdown day 4. We start in 4 days with the Hormone Bliss Challenge. If you want to find out more about what you'll get from the Hormone Bliss Challenge, you can click the link in my bio on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and find out more about the Hormone Bliss Challenge. Hey, Sharon. Hi, y'all. I see you there. Let me know who's here. Give me a shout out in the comments section. So, hi, Antoinette, Madeline. Good to see you. Happy Thursday, everybody. Thursday in January. I don't even know what the date is today. I have been going 100 miles per hour all day. How about you guys? Super busy. I try to have more space in my days to have it leisurely, so my cortisol can be a little calm. That didn't happen today. Today's the 20th. Wow. Already January 20th of 2022. So I wanted to talk to you. I think I promised you yesterday that I was going to talk about something in the hormone field that my colleagues love that I'm not sold on. Well, let me say, I think it has certain applications, but not as a first line therapy. So how many of you have heard of intermittent fasting? Anybody? Give me a shout out. Give me a hands up. Hello, anyone? So yes, right? So intermittent fasting is all the rage, timed eating, all kinds of things. Hey, Mary, good to see you. And so it's all the rage right now, and everybody's using it. Maureen says you've done it. What was your experience with it, Maureen? Tell me about that. Love to hear it. So I get a lot of clients coming to me saying, I tried the intermittent fasting, Dr. Kieran, I really did, and it didn't work for me. How many of you has that happened for? I'd be interested to know if that happened for you, Maureen, or anybody else. So what's going on here? With the books coming out on intermittent fasting and all the talk about it, you'd think that it's like the second coming of Christ. It's like the panacea for all health problems. So Maureen says, I couldn't get all my macros in for the day while working. Interesting. So that's a challenge. Definitely. Mary says, I feel the same, right? So, and Seidel, I'm not sure what that says. If you can write it again, I can't understand it. So there are a lot of challenges with it, but everybody talks about it's like this panacea. It's like the greatest thing for every health problem, decreases inflammation, reverses autoimmune disease. Like it's amazing and everyone should do it. That's what I hear some of my colleagues saying. And I'm going to come down on the other side with that. And we're going to talk about that. So I don't think that it is an appropriate first line treatment for most women at midlife. Hey, Teresa, why is that? So there's something that happens with women when they get into their 40s in the perimenopause. I just did a podcast interview with Dr. Laura Bryden. I don't know if you guys know her. Here's her book, Hormone Repair Manual. It'll come out in a few weeks. So definitely make sure you go to where you get your podcasts and click to be notified when you get a new episode of the Hormone Prescription Podcast with Dr. Kieran, because you'll get that episode. So we had a great discussion about what happens in perimenopause, which she calls second puberty, which I love. And that is that you get a lot of neurological kind of dysregulation that overwhelms your stress response system, your cortisol system. And you may experience that if you went past that phase. Remember back. If you're in it now, think about what's going on now. If you're coming towards it, maybe you're starting to have glimpses of this, that you feel overwhelmed easily. Like maybe in your 20s and 30s, you used to say, I love a crisis. I thrive in a crisis. How many of you are like that? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments on Instagram, the chat here on Facebook. That used to be me. Like, baby's coming, baby's breech, no problem. I got it. I thrive under pressure. How many of you had that as your mantra? I thrive under pressure. Give me a crisis. I'm the cool, calm, collected one who can handle it. Everybody comes to me. That was me. In my 40s, not so much. Right? And maybe that happened to you. Maybe you started having the lack of kind of ability to deal with stress and you would get overwhelmed. Well, that exactly deals with your cortisol stress hormone. So intermittent fasting is basically forced starvation at certain periods of the day. So you might have, we call it an eating window. You might have a eating window of 8 to 10 hours a day. Most people recommend an 8-hour eating window. So you might eat from 12 noon to 8 p.m. or 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. or 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then you don't eat anything the rest of the time, right? So that's called your eating window. And so it's a form of partial forced starvation. That's why they call it intermittent fasting. And the studies are very clear that it helps with lots of things like reversing autoimmune disease, decreasing inflammation. But the problem for women in their 40s is that you already are starting to have an overly stressed system, not to mention the everyday stress that you're dealing with, work, family, kids, right? You guys got that going on? Let me know in the comments section. You guys got it going on, right? Life is just stressful right about now for everybody. And then compound that with your hormonal changes and you add on top of that, starvation is a stressor on your body. That's the bottom line. When your body doesn't get calorie intake, it thinks there's a problem. And that's why they call it breaking the fast. Breakfast is breaking the fast. You give your body food within an hour of awakening, calories, and it knows we don't have to go into starvation mode and dial down our metabolic rate. We're going to survive, right? So food is a signal to your body that your stress hormone doesn't need to freak out. And the problem is for women in their 40s and 50s, they already have a stress system. And so when you add on top of it, this partial starvation for part of the day, I find that it tips a lot of women into even worse fat storing mode and immune system mode because their body is triggered by that. I'm not saying there are some people who they can just start doing the intermittent fasting and they do great. But I see the ones who are like, why isn't this working for me? What's wrong with me? Everybody says this is a panacea. Why isn't it helping me? Maybe that's you. Maybe you know someone like that. And it's because of our unique makeup in our hormones in general as women. Our hormones are kind of as unique as our fingerprint. But also it's the stress that we go through during our second puberty of perimenopause and then culminating in menopause. So I'm not on the bandwagon of it's the panacea. What I think is that each woman needs to look at her situation individually. And I find more that most of us women at this time of life, we're skipping too many meals and we actually need to feed ourselves more. Yes, you heard me right. We need to be eating from morning until evening. We need to eat within an hour of waking up to send that signal that we are not in a famine and our stress response system doesn't have to kick off. And I do recommend initially meals every 4 to 6 hours to stabilize that blood sugar. We'll be talking more about that in the challenge. I know a lot of you think your blood sugar is stabilized, but it's not. I teach you why that is in the challenge. So many women come and they think, oh, my diet's pretty good. I'm doing everything I can. Your diet actually is the biggest needle mover when it comes to balancing your hormones. And they're surprised to learn that there's some hair or something on my glasses. They're surprised to learn that there are actually some tweaks, small tweaks that you can make, simple tweaks in your diet that can impact your hormones like that. Last time we ran this challenge at the end of November, in the 14 days, somebody's like, I lost 5 pounds and I wasn't even trying to lose weight. That wasn't even my goal, but it just happened when she did these small tweaks. And that's one of the things you will see when you have weight to lose, and you balance your hormones, you will see the weight start to come off. And so that's what happened for her. So I recommend in this 40 to 60-year-old midlife period that first you balance out the hormones by satiating the body, giving it the protein that it needs, the healthy carbs that it needs, the fats that it needs, right? All of that. And then once you get stabilized, and I also recommend testing the cortisol so you know what's happening with the stress response system, because that's the problem. A lot of these women don't realize that their cortisol is all wonky. Maybe it's really high all the time and they don't realize it. And then they starve themselves for part of the day and the cortisol goes even higher. That's a recipe for disaster. Or maybe it goes high in the morning and then it comes down real low. So it's very chaotic, which can happen in this time of life. And they're stressing that system further. Or maybe they're down there at the bottom, stage 2 or 3 cortisol, and they really don't have much to work with. And this just tips them over the edge and it's too much stress. So, then once you get it stabilized, and that's different for every woman, does she need to do it for a month, 2 months, 3 months, longer? Then she can go into intermittent fasting. But I promised that I would talk about something in my industry that my colleagues are all about, that I'm not jumping on that bandwagon just yet. You know, it seems like every few years we jump on this bandwagon. How many of you notice this? Like we'll jump on keto for a while, right? Oh, keto is the panacea for everything. And then it's like, no, we just need paleo. Okay, paleo. And then people are like, no, raw vegan. Okay, raw vegan. And we just get all these kind of extreme things. And, you know, you want to go back to the basics of the Stone Age. In the Stone Age, people ate a very kind of paleo diet, right? Meats, berries, vegetables, seasonally, locally, because that's all they could get. And they ate kind of regularly throughout the day, probably not as much as we eat. And their health was pretty good. So you want to go back to basics and always reality test some of these things that you hear, like, does it make sense? So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. If you are interested in getting your hormones blissed out in 2022, how many of you want blissed out hormones? I do. I'll sign up for that. I'm going to take you through the steps that I take my one-on-one clients through in my 12-day hormone bliss challenge starting on Monday. That's in 4 days. You can click and find out more. Go into the Linktree bio and Instagram. Mary's like, yes, please. Yeah, click the Linktree, Mary. And then here on Facebook and YouTube, click the bio and find out more. We've got some success stories of ladies who have gone through this with me. And what it's meant to them. If you're on my email list, we'll be sending out even more success stories in the next few days so you can know what it meant to them. Like, the thing is, you don't even know what you don't know. That's the problem. And I think that we really are socialized in our society to believe that we're getting everything we need from our $30 neighborhood HMO doctor. And I wish it was the truth, because I know they're good people, but it's not how we're trained. We doctors are not trained in traditional medical training to speak hormone. So you're going to doctors who don't speak hormone. They don't understand the unique physiology of women at that time of life, from 40 to 60 at midlife. And so you're not going to get the latest and greatest. And so that's why I do what I do, because my health was off the rails in my 40s, a disaster. And anybody relate? I hope you aren't as bad now as I was. Let me know. I want to, like, was I the only one? No, because I talk to you guys every day. Like, I can't tell you. I never meet a woman over 40 who, when she hears what I do, doesn't go, can I talk to you? can I talk to you privately, please? Because I need to tell you what's going on. My health is a mess. I need help. My doctor told me don't check women's hormones. I don't know what to do. Mary can't lose weight. We got the answer for that. So yeah, that was me. I was 243 pounds. Fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, depression, anxiety, hair loss, no sex drive. Gut was a mess. I was a mess. And I was board certified OBGYN. I still am, but I don't practice that anymore because now I have a bigger toolbox. So I had to go back to school to learn how to speak hormone. Maureen says, me neither. Come see me in the challenge. It costs less than a tank of gas. It's so cheap. And I give you 12 simple steps over 12 days. And it's super fun because I have the best people who come and work with me in these types of things. So you guys will fit right in. So the weight comes off and you get your energy back and you sleep well and you get clarity. So it's super fun, but you're not getting the answers that you need. That's why I made this commitment to spend the rest of my life teaching women about the truth about their health and their hormones and helping them lose weight, regain energy, balance their hormones and their moods, helping them feel sexy and confident, look great, a master midlife. So I hope you will join me for that starting on Monday. Anything else you guys want to talk about? I'm going to look and see what are we talking about tomorrow. Oh, I could talk a little bit about how I got started in my in hormone balance. Although a lot of you, I always feel like everybody's heard my story, so I'm reluctant. I'll definitely talk about it during the challenge. I know. We'll talk about a moment in my life that really changed the way I view hormone balancing. That'll be super fun. Because it's like, I love these epiphanies. You have these epiphanies and you thought the world was flat and all of a sudden you're going along in your boat and you're like, the world's not flat. I'm continuing to go. And it's that way. Don't you love it in your profession when you know something you think is so true and then you learn something that tells you that what you thought was true, what isn't true? Does anyone else love that? Mary says, my cortisol is high. I'm taking bioidentical hormones. It's great to be on bioidenticals, but you got to fix your cortisol. And that's what we're going to talk about in the challenge. You got to fix all the things. So not only the things you need a prescription for, right? Those are the hormones you need a prescription for, but the things you don't need a prescription for that you got to fix yourself. That's what we're going to focus on. All of it. All the things. I like to say all the things. My ladies in my programs go, yeah, you love all the things, Kieran. Yes, I do. So we will talk about that, some of that tomorrow, but I hope you will consider joining me. If not now, when? There's never a good time to have a baby, die, or pay your taxes. There's also never a good time to balance your hormones. You just got to do it. But I'm telling you, life becomes so much better. Oh, and Maureen says, just started my bioidenticals. Well, thanks to Finding Dr. Kieran. Thank you. Mwah, mwah. All right, y'all. I will see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And peace, love, and hormones, y'all. Bye-bye.